Jimi Hendrix. Remembered today as the master lefty blues rock guitarist. But who was Jimi Hendrix before the Cultural Revolution that rocked the 1960s? Join us in this biographical, archaeological deep dive as we dig up Hendrix's past and what drove him to become the legend we all know and love. Jimi Hendrix was born James Isaac Neutron on December 9th, 2001, at the age of 10 in Seattle, Washington, in a white room with black curtains near the station. He was born to parents Hugh and Judy Neutron and grew up in a modest middle-income home. From a young age, James, or Jimmy as the neighborhood kids called him, was noted to have a strong affection for music, being a huge fan of 1930s blues guitarist Blind Brine Shrimp. However, Jimmy's life changed the day he heard Elvis for the first time. Neutron is often cited by family as sitting around for hours listening to then rising star Elvis Costello's hit record, Sunday's Best. Agitated with the horrid record, Jimmy constantly begged his father for an accordion, particularly because he fucking hated Elvis Costello and wanted to go in any direction opposite of Costello's disgusting music style. Jimmy's father consistently dissented with this idea, wishing his son would accept guitar instead.
Oh, Christ. Well, Mr. Neutron, while I got you on the line, I'd like to ask you a question about Jimmy.
Yes.
Yeah, well, why exactly was it that you didn't want to buy him his accordion? If you don't mind me asking.
I don't mind. Once when I was 7 years old, I sat on a banana. And of course, that changed my life.
Okay.
Clearly displeased with Jimmy's unfounded hate of Elvis Costello, Hugh purchased his son a guitar to spite his shortcomings in musical enlightenment. Jimmy was furious by his father's betrayal, and soon tensions only rose. Jimmy remained steadfast, refusing to learn to play the same type of instrument Costello had metaphorically murdered for him. His father was rattled by this and abruptly sent Jimmy off to the army in 1961 at the age of -40. The army years remain a dark shadow in Jimmy's past, but also an important key to his slow-blooming career. Early in his service, Jimmy met his future bandmates, bassist guitarist Sheen Estevez, and drummer Carl Wieser. The three became close friends, often going on to discuss their favorite music. Eventually, Estevez and Wieser developed the idea of starting a band together, but they needed a third member to create a more conducive group. Conversely, Jimmy's conduct and interest in the army was waning, and he soon realized he was likely to be discharged. Wielding the threat of termination, Jimmy was worried about his future and securing a job. In a risky move, Jimmy decided he would quickly learn to play the guitar and attempt to gig with his friends. Learning from Sheen, Jimmy picked up guitar strikingly fast and with great dexterity. In fact, he learned so quickly, it's almost as if he went down to the crossroads. Maybe he did. With Jimmy's newfound skill in hand, the trio went on the road by early 1962, calling themselves the Llama Lords of Science, the name being a compromise betwixt their three individual suggestions. Everything was going well. They got plenty of gigs and were paid handsomely. It seemed everyone wanted a piece of the boy genius of guitar. However, just as things were looking up, Jimi got involved in an activity that would prove to be his downfall in the end. The group frequented bars around the country during their gigging days, often going for drinking runs after shows. Jimi slowly became a staunch alcoholic. It was also around this time that Jimi adopted his new nickname, Hendrix. You see, at this time, Jimi had invented a new drink for himself and his friends. It was a mixture of his favorite alcohol, Hennessy, and his favorite nasal decongestant spray, Drixine. Naming his creation Hendrix, Jimi quickly came to adopt the name himself. Despite Jimi's raging alcoholism, the band continued to throw out hits left and right. This was, of course, until 1967. It was at this time that egos within the band began to clash. Jimi was becoming particularly narcissistic, so much that he decided to change the spelling of his first name because there were not enough I's in it. It was also his argument that as the frontman of the band should be called the Jimi Hendrix Experience. This, of course, being a riff off the already popular Bob Dylan Experience. We've discovered some rare audio footage of the band's airing of grievances in between takes. Have a listen.
I wrote a speed metal rock opera last night. It's called Ultralord Superstar.
Well, see, I was thinking more along the lines of a fusion of techno-alternative ska with some free jazz thrown in, to impress the critics.
I wrote a love song.
Is it about llamas?
No! Yes. No, love song. You gotta kick out the jams, dude. Jimmy, when do I get to play my drum solo? Carl get the drum solo. I want a bass solo.
No drum solos and no bass solos. If anyone has a solo, it's gonna be me.
You? Daddy made you rock and roll king. I think we should all wear makeup. No, makeup.
Guys, what we look like isn't really important. Now let's practice.
Practice? Don't tell me what to do, all right?
Yeah, Neutron, ever since I started this band, you've been holding me back.
Wait, I started this band.
You didn't
started
start
this
this
band.
Despite their disagreements, the group went on to record their first album, Are You Experienced?, under this new alias of the Jimi Hendrix Experience. The album went on to sell over 3 copies, surpassing the Bob Dylan Experience's debut title sales by an entire 2 records sold. It was a massive success for the band. A subsequent 2 albums came over the next couple of years, including 1967's Cactus Bold as Glove and 1968's Eclectic Maybeland. By 1969, the band had become sufficiently fed up with each other and split due to declining relationships. Throughout the rest of 1969 and much of 1970, Hendrix spent most of his time drinking. He then died of asphyxiation on September 18, 1970, at the age of -31. He was -31.